My favorite thing about this year was just all of it. Being in the lunch gang was fun and stuff.
My favorite part this year was the teachers and all the kids, and not the boys, but they were all really cool and stuff. And field trips.
My favorite part was field trips. My favorite was the Columbia one because we got to stay on the bus a long time. My least favorite thing this year was Spanish and PE. We had to run.
I've got to say my least favorite thing was probably Spanish. If you didn't turn something in, you'd get detention, and now that we have this yellow card with a D on it, and if she calls your name, you have to go to detention. I don't know why, but she wants us to. And it's very cruel and unusual punishment.
My favorite thing about 4th grade was the math. The math and the recess when it's only the 4th graders and 5th graders. Math's the best.
My favorite thing was the teachers because they're really nice and I really love 4th grade. My favorite field trip this year was San Antonio because I liked the bus ride. I just talked to my friends.
My least favorite thing about 4th grade was detention, but I hate it.
My least favorite thing about this year was square dancing in Spanish because I didn't like to hold hands with the boys, and in Spanish, the teacher's not that nice.
My favorite thing about 4th grade was the field trips when we get on buses because we get to hang out with our friends. The other thing I liked about 4th grade was the movies because it was funny, cool, whatever.
My favorite thing in 4th grade was probably the teachers because they were really nice and helped me along, and they were funny, and they were just like the best. Another thing I liked about this year was probably Funny Money because it was fun at Lynch Homestead to spend it all, to see what the miners did, to go actually to a real saloon, kind of. My least favorite thing about this year was the Columbia Cemetery because it scared the heck out of me.
One of my favorite things about this year was Columbia trip because of the cemetery, the stagecoach ride. Another thing that I liked about this year was Lynch Gang Homestead because we got to spend all our funny money on the general store.
My least favorite thing is Spanish because it's boring and the teacher's pretty mean.
The good thing about this year was that we had a lot of field trips and they were all fun, and licorice attacks. My favorite field trip was Columbia because we went gold mining and I found real gold. My least favorite thing about 4th grade was probably running the mile. You had to run 5.5 laps, and it took a while.
My least favorite thing about this year was Spanish. Definitely gotta be Spanish. I'm not really good at Spanish, and I've never really liked Spanish. Definitely not Spanish.
My favorite thing about this year was, well, I had a lot, but probably the field trips. I liked the Lynch Gang Homestead the most because we got to dress up in costumes.
My favorite thing about this year was the field trips, the contracts, and the mile run. My favorite thing about the contracts was we got to draw stuff and we got to type on the computer. And then the mile, I just like that because I like to run.
My least favorite thing about 4th grade was probably the square dancing. Definitely the square dancing because that was really weird. I don't know, just dancing with the guys. I'm not very fond of that. And another of my least favorite things would probably be the tests. I hate the tests. All the tests. I just hate waiting to see like what my grade's gonna be.
My least favorite thing was the mile run because I hate to run, and running is just not my thing. And then I didn't like Spanish because like I wasn't really like someone who likes to learn another language, and I hated the square dancing because I don't really like to dance with boys. Not really like that person.
My favorite thing this year was Lunch Gang Homestead and all the field trips, working at the general store.
My favorite thing about this year would probably be the Lynch Gang Homestead and the trip to Colombia. We could get like these, we could get slingshots, you could get whips. You could also eat at an old saloon and get as much chips and soda as you want. And also you got free ice cream, and you could also pan for gold. And later on, if you wanted to pan some more, you could, and that's what I liked about Colombia.
My least favorite thing this year was, I'm thinking that it was math. My least favorite thing of the year was also, it was science too, and detention. They all give part of this year to me, and I'm pretty sure all the girls with the boys. They're kind of weird.
My least favorite thing this year was probably Spanish and the mile run and PE and some of the boys.
My favorite thing about 4th grade was Lori the classroom ghost, because I think he's taking my pencils. My favorite thing about 4th grade this year was the teachers, and I really liked doing stuff with them. I also liked art and the field trips because they're really fun to go on the bus, and I like to go new places.
My least favorite thing this year was Spanish because the teacher isn't that nice, and Spanish isn't one of my favorite things.
I don't like PE at all. I'm not very good at sports. I don't like it.
My favorite thing about this year is probably Lynch Gang Homestead and Funny Money, because you get to learn a lot of things, and it's fun going to Mrs. Lynch's house, and it's fun having the jobs you have.
My least favorite thing about 4th grade was the hard tests.
My least favorite thing this year was probably the e-pages, because my dad made me do all the time, so it got annoying and hard.
My favorite thing this year was probably the contracts. Yeah, definitely the contracts and the field trips. My favorite field trip was Colombia because we got a gold mine, we got to ride on top of a stagecoach, we got free hot dogs. I like the contracts because when I finally discovered when I was doing my railroad contracts that I'd look back at all the other contract questions, it was pretty easy.
My favorite thing about 4th grade was probably the bus rides, because you could just like talk to your friends and have fun on the bus before you get to the field trip, and everybody's so like psyched and stuff. My second favorite thing was probably like Friday recesses, because you get a 3 o'clock recess and it's really fun.
My least favorite thing about this year was Spanish, because I'm not that good of a Spanish speaker, and I don't really like the tests.
My least favorite thing was detention, because you stay in there and it wastes all your time for recess.
My favorite thing about this year was probably the field trips, most of all Columbia because that was really fun, and the teachers because the teachers were really nice.
My favorite thing about this year was the field trips, Mrs. Lynch's licorice attacks, and Maury. My favorite field trip was Columbia because we got a pan for gold and then we got to keep it, and I like the licorice attacks because I just like licorice.
My least favorite thing about this year was probably Spanish because I've never really wanted to speak Spanish and because I don't like the teacher.
My least favorite thing about this year is, I don't know, probably band because like Mr. Grugian, sometimes he doesn't teach us any songs. He just tells us to play it.
The really bad part about this year was I don't really have anything. My favorite thing about 4th grade was the teachers because they're very nice and I just like them.